Right, okay, I'm going to do a video early on this. It's not 100% confirmed, but I'm going to be a bit naughty and just predict something that's not 100% correct, and that is the Emile Smith-Rowe rumours to Fulham. So it's about 95% sure and correct that Smith-Rowe will be leaving Arsenal and joining Fulham. And I'm gutted. I'm absolutely gutted. I think he's one of these guys that has epitomised everything great about the Arteta journey at Arsenal. And all I can do is thank Smith-Rowe. I can thank him for because without his performances, we might not even have Arteta, because we might have performed so badly that the club would have pulled the plug on him, because we needed time. And Smith-Rowe is one of those players that bought Arteta a lot of time. And it was round about the time where, I think we were about 13th or 14th in the league. I might be wrong, in December time in the COVID season, and Arteta was under immense pressure. And Arteta put Smith-Rowe in against Chelsea at home, and then everything changed. We performed very well in the second half of the season. He'd done very well against Chelsea, and Smith-Rowe was a big part of why Arteta was able to salvage an 8th place finish. It wasn't what we wanted, but it was better than the previous season. We finished 8th the previous season, but we had more points this year, and there was more young players, so there was more to look forward to. And Smith-Rowe's performances in that second half of the season is what bought him time. It bought Arteta time, and he was one of the shining lights in a very, very just disjointed club in general, both on the pitch and off the pitch. And there were certain players at the club who just were taking liberties, but Smith-Rowe was not one of them. He was one of the very few that stepped up, and that followed on to the second season, the first half of his second season, so 21-22, where in the first half of the season, again, his performances were so good. And it's unfortunate for him that Martinelli came around and took his position, because in that first half of the season, Smith-Rowe was unbelievable. But then when Martinelli took his place, Smith-Rowe never really hit those heights ever again. And it's such a shame, because he's got all the tools in the world to being a very, very good Premier League player. But the bottom line is, no matter how we dress it up and how we want him to do well, because he's an Arsenal homegrown talent, where we are as a club now and where we were then when Smith-Rowe was in the team is no comparison. And unfortunately, players like Saka and Martinelli have grown with the progression, but Smith-Rowe has kind of stagnated, and he's not moved with the improvement of the club. And that's why it's definitely for the best that we sell him. I'm 100% behind the decision. And I think Fulham fans watching this who are wondering what kind of player they're getting, is it a good decision for them to, I think it's about 35 million they'll be spending on him. I think you guys have absolutely hit the jackpot there, because he's a special player and he will do so well for Fulham. Absolutely. If he can stay fit, he can be definitely the best player in the team. Honestly, I can't speak highly enough of him. I think it's so unfortunate that he's just not quite good enough for Arsenal now. But at the time, he stepped up when others didn't. And it's just a shame that players like Martinelli and Trossard have just simply overtaken him. And it's, there's no shame in that. There's no shame in being nearly there and just not quite going to the next level. But Smith-Rowe was a very good servant to the club, and I'm gutted, because the fairy tale would have been for him to stay at the club and help us to eventually winning a league title. But if we are going to move to the next level and we are going to try and eventually win the title, the likes of Smith-Rowe, Nelson and Nketiah, they have to move on, because you don't win titles with your starting 11. You win it with your squad. And unfortunately, those guys just aren't quite good enough. They're not what Jesus is. They're not quite Jesus. Jesus is the type of guy you need as your squad players. And it's a pity. It's a big pity. And I wish Smith-Rowe all the best of luck, because he's an absolute dream of a player. And I'd love nothing more than for him to really get his career going. He's 23 now. And you look at Ødegaard, I think Ødegaard is 25, but I think Smith-Rowe's turning 24 next week. Might have got that wrong, but yeah, I think Smith-Rowe's going to be turning 24 soon. Smith-Rowe was ahead of Ødegaard in the 2021 season. Ødegaard was at a bit of a crossroads, in his career. And you look at what Ødegaard's done, and Smith-Rowe just hasn't moved. Because Smith-Rowe was probably ahead in the pecking order back then. He was probably more first on the team sheet than Ødegaard was. But Ødegaard's just developed drastically, and Smith-Rowe just kind of hasn't. And injuries have played a part. But yeah, I can't wait for him to, because I know what's going to happen. He's going to shine for Fulham, and I can't wait to see it happen because he's a brilliant player. But that's the latest. Emile Smith-Rowe has, well, he's leaving the club. It's not for definite, but I think we're 95% sure that he's going to be leaving the football club, and I wish him all the best of luck.